Hi there, Sherry with Red Apple Auctions. For those of you that are auction chairs who are on my newsletter list, you have been getting quite a few emails from me over the last week and a half talking about my upcoming procurement class that starts on Thursday. And it's called the Auction Procurement Masterclass. It's 3 hours run over the course of 3 weeks, 3 different Thursdays. And I am going to be talking about that today in this video, but also I want to talk about something that has been getting my goat for a while in how we describe what to get for procurement. Everybody has their own way of teaching. Everyone has their own way of describing things. But for me, this has been a little bit of an annoyance, and we're going to kind of really address it, I guess you might say, in the first class that I'm going to lead, but I want to bring it to your attention right now. So to give you an idea, the course itself, we have got 3 weeks. The first week is really covering what to get. The second week is covering how to get it. And then the third week is kind of for the psychology aspect of it. What to do when you've got a hard to sell item, what to do to get items when it's a hard year to get items and you need something fast. How do you get some quick items? So we're going to cover that in that kind of approach. What I want to talk about in this video is this concept of that I hear a lot lately is that, oh, we need to go get experiences. Experiences is what sells. And depending on who I'm talking to and whether they're a new client or a returning client, I may have an idea or not of what they're talking about. So I always ask, what do you mean by experiences? What does an experience mean to you? I mean, an experience can be getting your teeth pulled. That's not what we want in our auction. So they'll usually say, well, Sherry, it has to do with like, if you're going to take a vacation, maybe you get a food tour that night so that you show up this place and that's the experience around the tour, or maybe it's a hot air balloon ride. That's the experience itself. Okay. Yeah. I'm not saying that those things don't sell well in auctions or won't sell well in your auction, but I think there are more specific ways of defining it. And in a world where semantics can mean a big difference in how you perceive things, I wanted to provide more detail than that in the course. Now, for those of you that are my clients or returning clients, you have heard me talk almost every year about how I go through and I look at the national averages of sales and live auctions, and we narrow this down to 5 core target areas that we put, or I advise we put into our live auctions. Yes, it can go into silent too, but specifically in the live, these are the 5 categories that we want to have in our auction based on just data, pure data. This is what we've got to have. But for me to just say, oh, well, it's experiences, because some of them frankly aren't, more on that in a second. But for me to just say that doesn't provide, in my mind, enough specificity so that a volunteer can really take that and run with it. It just feels a little vague. And I know people are creative. They're creative, but you got to give them some parameters with where to go fish. So with regards to this experience concept, if we are going to say that experiences are great sellers in auctions, my next thought goes to, well, how do we then explain the popularity for the last 5 years of a single bottle of Pappy Van Winkle selling for so high in our auctions? That's not an experience at all. I mean, it might be an experience if you drink enough of it, you'll have an experience. But that is a bottle of booze. That is what that is. It's not an experience. How do we explain, if we're targeting experiences, how do we explain the eternally popular front row seats at graduation for you schools, right? It's either the pew with a view or the 6 seats that are saved at the front row. That's not about the experience. That's about convenience. Parents are buying that. Grandparents are buying that because they want to be able to walk in and sit down and have a great unobstructed view, taking photos of their child crossing that stage. That's what that's about. It's not an experience in the way that it's certainly been described to me. So how do we explain all these other things, and where do they fall into it? Where do they fall into our procurement strategy? So that's my issue with, oh, we're trying to get experiences. I'll tell you, in the 5 categories that I have, experience is not one of them. It's not one of those 5 categories. but we can wrap some things around it to really give some structure to our approach with those 5 categories. And I think it makes it a lot easier for our volunteers to grasp onto and understand what is going to sell well and how they can create something that's going to be a slam dunk winner in that live auction. So that's in that first class, we're going to talk about those 5 categories, but we're also going to talk about, and I'm really excited about this, our auction item guide. I have not released an auction item guide for 2 years. March 2020, COVID-19 hit. Things really changed and shook up. I thought about releasing it at the end of 2020, but I just decided to hold off. Well, I've pulled it all together. I've spent hours pulling this thing together. I'm waiting on the cover art right now, and I am not going to release this on my website for a while. I'm going to give first dibs to everybody that's in the class. There are some items in there that are just gems, and I want the students to have the first shot at being able to pull those together and use them. We're also going to use that a little bit for some homework, because after we learn about good categories, then we're going to reference this item guide as an example of, okay, guys, let's see how much we're learning here and what's sinking in, because I know that once you understand it, you're going to be able to turn around and teach your committee. And that's where we start to see some real growth with our auctions. It's not just about one person learning and not sharing. It's about your committee really utilizing this and being able to grow year after year. So that's class 1. The second class then, which will be taking place February, 17th? Is that next Thursday? Let me look at that. Yeah. February 17th is when we're going to get into how to get this stuff. So there's 2 kind of big subject areas in that course. We're going to start out though with a letter that you can model. It's a template of a donation letter, and this thing rocks. It's going to blow your mind as to what you've been doing for your donation letters and what this is. And the reason I know that it's really good is that several years ago, it's been like maybe 7 years ago, something like that, maybe 8. And there was a woman out of Spokane, Washington. I do not remember her name. If you're watching this, my apologies. I don't remember your name, but she had such great success with this letter. She said, Sherry, I've been sending out donation letters to some of these companies for years. They always say no. I sent out this letter adapted. We got donations from them this year. I know that this donation letter is good. So we're going to cover that, explain the format, how it all needs to come together and so forth. And then I'm also going to devote quite a bit in that class to consignment, understanding the whole world of consignment. Gosh, it's such a cottage industry. So many people are not aware of it. You can go south real quick in your auction by using the wrong consignment, or you can elevate your auction to new heights by using the right ones. It's not for everybody. It's not required by any means, but understanding it and knowing what your options are is really important. So that's in the second course, how to. The third class that we're doing is the kind of gets into the psychology of it all. Like, geez, we've got this item. Nobody's going to want it. How do we sell it for the best money? What do we do to package this, make this different? Or what do we do in a year like this year where it's tough to get donations and we need donations? Where do we turn for easy donations? What's some options for us? I sent in one of the emails, I guess it was last Friday, advertising the course. I talked about how Disney is no longer donating. You go to their website, their donation page website, in big letters, it says COVID-19 hiatus. Like 2 sentences after that. Nope, we're not doing it right now. So, if you've been relying on those donations, and I know a lot of my school clients did, they would get many, up to 20, I think it's what they'd get from Disney, these passes, and now that's no longer available to them. So what are you going to do? So if you're in that situation where you're like, dang, we're really crunched this year, that's going to be a good source of ideas for you as well in that third week, that third class. Now, all the courses are going to be recorded. I'm going to do some light editing of them and then get them up so that by Monday, you'll be, if not sooner, you'll be able to go through them if you missed the course. I'll include a link to the page where you can learn more information about it starting on Thursday at 1 p.m. If you need to get approval before you buy, certainly that's the case with some folks. Again, no worries. You can always catch up with us that second week. Give yourself a few days there to get the money and everything lined up. And then you can see us, you can join us on February the 17th for that course instead. Again, just some food for thought there on experiences and why I don't necessarily like telling clients to go get that for their auction. I'd rather be more specific. We'll go into more detail in the course. As always, Good luck to you in your benefit auction.